Hi, my name is Dan, and this video is one in a series of videos I'm doing about the design of inventory systems for video games. And in this one, I'm going to outline the 5 most common tactics that are used to govern inventory management in games. So let's crack into it and get to an end quickly. So the first potential tactic is no limits. Which is where you have an inventory that can accept any number of objects, and there's no way of limiting it. I should say, I guess that the other 4 are ways of limiting the capacity of inventories, which is quite a common thing to do in games, especially RPGs, where inventories are quite um, ubiquitous. So here's a picture from Sam the Sorcerer. So this is an old school, very old school point and click kind of adventure. And these games typically had a limitless inventory. And the reason why it wasn't a problem in these games was because the number of items available was quite small. So if you allowed players to have limitless inventory space in a game like Skyrim or any other modern RPG, then what you'll find is that players will go around trying to collect everything in the world, and they will walk around with an absolutely chock full inventory. I mean, you might think that inventories are chock full anyway, um, but creating limits does 2 things. So first, it stops players from being able to just grind around the world and pick up everything that there is. And the other thing is it introduces an element of inventory management as part of the game. So it's a kind of micromanagement element where players have to think about what they might pick up, what they might not pick up. That gives them decisions to make, which is a good thing, generally speaking, in gameplay. So the second tactic I want to talk about is weight-based. So we mentioned Elder Scrolls and Skyrim. Here's a picture from Skyrim, and Skyrim uses a weight-based system. And as you can see, this sword that has been picked up, it's in the inventory. There's a list here. These bars on my left list the things that are being carried. And this particular sword, it tells you one of the stats on it is its weight. So there's no kind of bulk limit here in Skyrim. It is all just done on the weight. And down at the bottom right, as well as a few other things, you'll see there's a thing, carry weight. And so I can carry up to 300 in weight. It doesn't tell you what they're measured in. 10 weight, 10. It won't be grams, will it? Probably much more than ounces. Some kind of ancient Skyrim measure of weight, shekel. I don't know what. Anyway, but I can carry up to 300 of these. And after I've carried that, then if I have too much, then I'll get a severe slowdown on my character, which is quite a sudden thing. It's not realistic, but it is a reasonable way of approaching this sort of thing. The next one is slots. And you will probably have seen games with slot-based inventories. Here's one. It took quite a while to find one where items don't stack in slots. And I'll talk about stacking in the next one. So in this particular example, each item takes 1 slot in the inventory, and it doesn't mind what the size of the item is. There can be large items, there can be small items. You can only carry a certain number of items, and some of these might be small. And you can see here there's also an equipped some equipped slots as well as the inventory slots that are available in this game. It's more normal to have a slots and stacks system, and this is by far, I would think, the most common inventory management system tactic. And here we've got Minecraft. I use Minecraft a lot as an example because I think a lot of people have experienced it. And if you play Minecraft, you almost certainly know that most items will stack, not all. So there are some items where you can only have 1 of them, and the limit is 1 in your stack for a slot. And so, for example, the green bed in the middle top is a one slot item. Um, but most of the other items have numbers on them, and those numbers indicate um, that you have a certain number of that item. So um, this picture is not necessarily very clear, but somewhere in the middle there's some cooked meat and the number 61. So that means you got 61 of that particular cooked meat. And next to it, just to its right, there's 61. And it's not clear because the number covers it over, but you get to know when you're a Minecraft player that this is a torch. Um, and the limit for, uh, I think, everything that can stack in Minecraft is 64. And 64 is one of those computing type numbers because it's a power of 2. So we come across that sort of number, 32s and 64s and 128s we come across quite often in games. So there's a limited number of slots here. I could quickly count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, as I thought, 27 at the higher area, but then there's also a further 9 at the bottom, so that's a total of 36 slots in total. And the difference with the ones in the bottom is that they're on the quick bar and easy to access to be used. Um, so I guess the question is, when you're making a game, which of these tactics are going to use if you've got an inventory, or are you going to think of one of your own? I've got one final one to talk about, which is the grid system, which kind of goes the other way from the slots and stacks, um, to say that some items are more bulky and take up more than one slot in space. And here's an example of that. Now, I think that this seems to be combined with some kind of stacking as well, but I think on the weapons, this is probably ammunition stack rather than actually 5 rifles. But you see in this example that the rifle, which is kind of in the middle, is long and thin, and you've got to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 slots to be able to fit that in. And you end up playing a form of Tetris as almost as a mini game when you have an inventory that's like this, and you have lots of things that you have to fit in. So I quite like this kind of inventory system. There's something slightly satisfying to having to be able to fit your items around each other as if you were packing the boot of a car to go on holiday. But you don't see it very often these days in games. So as I was saying, if you're making a game, I guess the question for you is how are you going to approach inventory if you've got an inventory system? This is providing you with some options. You could think of something completely different. And of course, game design is open to all sorts of innovation. And who knows, you might be the creator of the next standard inventory system because it's so good. But if in doubt, I would say, is there any reason not to use slots and stacks? So that's it from me for now.